Okay, you're not going to believe this, or maybe you will. I owe an apology. I'm going to say this publicly. I'm woman enough to do this. I can admit when I was wrong. I owe an apology to Cool Blue. After the show on Tuesday, we do an after call-in show, and Cool Blue told me and warned me about what was going to happen to Joe Biden. And there was one state in particular that I disagreed with Cool Blue about. So I apologize, Cool Blue. You were right. I was wrong, because now, according to Politico, let's bring this up on the screen. Biden support slips in deep blue New York. We're a battleground state now. New York, blue New York, is now a battleground state. We're going to play 270 to win. We're going to have some fun. I'll show you some stuff. Some people think that New York State is just New York City. There's an entire upstate. I would say a good amount of those towns, based on what I saw from the last election, a good amount of those towns in upstate New York were red. But we're going to get into why this is happening. Could this have happened with any other person? This didn't happen with Barack Obama. It's happening with Joe Biden. Let's go on. Let's get into the details about why this is happening in New York. Woo, 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 woo. I didn't think it could get any crazier than this, guys. Biden has a new problem. A competitive race in deep blue New York. Elected officials, union leaders, political consultants are panicking over polls showing a steady erosion of Biden's support in a state he won by 23 points 4 years ago. They're so worried they've been trying to convince the Biden team to pour resources into New York to shore up his campaign and boost Democrats running in a half dozen swing districts that could determine control of the House. Biden's aides have not focused on New York, committing no significant resources to a state where they expect the president to easily win all 28 electoral college votes in November. So I want to bring up something here. Some of those politicians that came forward and said that Joe Biden should step down, I believe that's because some of them already saw those internal polls and they started to see, now he's losing support in New York. Wait till I get to the numbers. But the warning signs are impossible to ignore and have been building over the past year. 2 private polls conducted in a swing New York House district and reviewed by Politico, one in September and another in March, found that Donald Trump leading Biden there by 1 point, a virtual tie. And political polls over the last 4 months found Biden's lead had winnowed to just 8 points across New York, an unusually narrow gap in a state where Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1. We're still acting like this is a one-party state, which for pretty much 25 years has been. That's coming from President Mark Levine. I truly believe we're a battleground state now. Biden, whose campaign is in free fall after shambling debate performance last month, is yet to pay attention to the state beyond high dollar fundraisers. So let's go down here. I want to highlight the points that they made here about why this is happening, because I want everyone to pay attention to this, because this should be a lesson for some of the other states as well. So again, my apologies to Cool Blue. Sorry, let me go down here. Just trying to find it. It's a long article, sorry. Misgivings over Democrats, Siena College. I'm just making sure I'm not passing it. Here we go. Some people aren't going to like this, but this is what the polls are showing. Many of the troubles facing Biden in New York stem from a broader problem Democrats in the state have on issues GOP candidates have successfully seized in the last several years. Driven by the flood of migrants into New York City, high taxes, and lingering perceptions of a crime wave, Republicans feel emboldened and believe they will be able to keep all 5 House seats they are contesting this year and come within striking distance of Trump winning the state's 28 electoral votes. Ladies and gentlemen, I was covering this issue months ago, and some of you got mad at me. And I said, don't get mad at me. I said, I'm trying to show you what people are saying in those cities. And nobody wanted to listen except for Roger. He listened to me. I have spoken to particularly African Americans that live in New York City, that live here in Boston, that live in Chicago, the cities where migrants have been brought to. And there have been a number of them that were warning, that were telling people they were not going to support Joe Biden this time around because of what is happening in the cities where they brought the migrants in. I'm not hating on migrant people. Some people assume that. But the fact that there were certain benefits that were given to them that were not given to residents in the city who are working poor. Some of the benefits that were given to migrants that came into New York City, they received more benefits than working poor people in New York City that had SNAP benefits. And I tried to warn people about this. And when I told people, people said, no, Sabby, you're being mean to the people who are coming here. No, I'm not being mean to the people who are coming here. I was showing you what the community was saying and how angered they were. They were town hall meetings about this. So I was trying to warn everybody ahead of time. And here we are. So what they're doing in New York is basically these GOP candidates. That's what they're capitalizing on. This is why they are winning. So here we are in 2024, you guys. Again, I never thought I'd see this. Biden support slips in deep blue New York. We're a battleground state now. A battleground state. To make things worse, Joe Biden is running ads like this. And then he wonders why he doesn't have as much support. Look at this.
The Biden-Harris campaign this morning is out with a new ad hitting Donald Trump on his actions and his comments surrounding Russian President Vladimir Putin and the war in Ukraine.
Our safety is built on agreements like NATO, which has protected us for 75 years. And our security is based on an understanding that we never give comfort to dictators. So why does Donald Trump keep siding with Putin? He said he'd walk away from NATO and gave Putin a green light to attack whoever he wants.
I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
He sold out Ukraine to empower Putin. He attacks American intelligence and law enforcement and sides with Putin instead. Because this is who Donald Trump is. A lapdog for a dictator who blames America first. The United States must never be like Putin's Russia. We don't empower dictators. We don't undermine freedom.
My message to President Putin is simple. We will not walk away. We will not bow down. I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
And you never should have approved it, because let me explain something, and this is why he's not doing well as well. The number one issue for the American people is the economy. The polls don't just show that, but when you talk to people in the street, they'll tell you that as well. And I actually have been on ground talking to the people. You ran a pro-war, Russia bad campaign ad. The average working poor and working class American is more concerned about putting food on the table. And considering that the grocery prices are incredibly high, you would think you would be running on the economy or trying to run on what you're going to improve about the economy. You put out this ad, this pro-war ad of you standing up there with NATO allies and saying Trump is friends with Putin. And you think that is going to empower poor people and working class people to come out and vote for you? The majority of people living in poverty are not thinking about Russia. The majority of people that are poor are not no damn Vladimir Putin on their freaking mind. They're too busy working multiple jobs just to pay the rent, to pay the bills. And you are already down in the polls and you're losing in swing states and you just had a horrible debate performance. And this is the campaign ad that you run with. Now, I don't know who's making these damn decisions. But given the fact that a lot of the younger voters are more likely to be anti-war, who in the hell in the Biden campaign thought this was a good idea? When you're losing young people, who's making these decisions? Who are the consultants? This is not 2003. You cannot run on, I'm going to stop Putin. You can't run on pro-war, you dummy. Why do you think Nikki Haley lost? Who came up with this? They should be embarrassed. After everything that's happened, that's what you run on. Younger voters are less likely to be favorable about the military. What you got here? The military. These are the voters you're trying to win back. Younger voters are not in favor of these wars. And a lot of registered independent voters, like myself, are not in favor of these wars. This is your commercial? This is your ad? Trump is friends with Vladimir Putin. I will not stop. Bad idea. And you wonder why. You wonder why. The Democratic Party is still stuck. They never moved forward. So when AOC tells you she supports Obama, she support this. That's why I said there are no progressives in Congress. Just a bunch of warmongers. Killing people abroad, brown people abroad. Now let's play 270 to win. I want to show you something. We've played it before. We're going to have some fun. 270 to win, ladies and gentlemen. Democrats are blue. Republicans are red. We're going to make some changes first. First and foremost, let's turn all the swing states back swing. Because I don't know what I did here. Nevada. Weren't you supposed to be that color? Yeah. Same thing with Arizona. I must have played with this earlier already. I think I did. Yeah. Georgia. And Pennsylvania. Michigan. And Wisconsin. And I am not going to touch New Hampshire. Actually, you know what? I might actually do that this year. I'm sorry. Usually I don't touch New Hampshire because New Hampshire has been blue for as long as I can remember. But things are different now. So peep this, fam. And I've done this before. There's one change that I'm going to make. So I told you months ago, Arizona will be red. I'm sticking with that. It's a border state. A lot of people in Arizona are complaining about the immigration issue. And by the way, when I say that, it's just the facts. It doesn't mean I dislike immigrants. It's just the facts. People are complaining about that issue. That's a border state. I'm going to give that one to Trump. I'm also going to give Nevada to Donald Trump as well because it borders Arizona. I could see, again, Nevada has never been like what you call a solid blue. And they've been complaining also about the immigration issue as well. We're going to pivot over here to Georgia. I don't think Dems are going to win this again, at least not in 2024. I think that's going to go back red. That one will go to Donald Trump. Now let's come up to the top. We got to make a change. Now that New York is a battleground state, we'll end with New York. Let's come back to that one. I'm going to do something a little risky here. I think I'm going to give Wisconsin to Biden. I'm going to give it a light blue. I think Biden may be able to pick up Wisconsin. Let's come back to Michigan. Pennsylvania, I am going to make it a light. I don't know, man. I have a feeling, and this is going to go back to the rural parts of Pennsylvania, which Trump was able to do pretty well in last time. I have a feeling Pennsylvania might go back red. Now, it wasn't red in 2020, but I have a feeling it may return back to red. I believe Trump won it in 2016, if I remember correctly. So I think that may return back to the red, not because of places like Philadelphia, but I think he may be able to win out that rural base in Pennsylvania again. New Hampshire could possibly go to Trump this time. I don't quote me on New Hampshire, but just again, that's my neighbor to the north. So I talk to people in New Hampshire and it seems like more and more of them are leaning that way. Some of them are for RFK. I'm not. And if he's not, or if he has ballot issues there, they've said they're going to vote for Trump. So I'm going to give it a light red. I'm going to give, this is a risky one, but I think I'm going to give Michigan to Biden. I think he may be able to pull it out. When I looked at the last polls, he might be able to get that one. And then New York. I don't know what to do here. I actually think I'm going to make it blue still, but I think it's going to be a light blue, not a darker blue anymore. This is just my prediction. Now let's see what we have. Okay. Based on what I just did here, Democrats get 247, Republicans get 291. You guys can tell me in the chat if you agree with me here or not. But if I had to make a prediction today, that would be my prediction. And that's based on polling and also word of mouth from people. What you say, Frank? Biden is 100% losing Michigan. I have a feeling he might pull that one out based on the polling, but you could be right there. Joe said Michigan is overwhelmingly anti-Biden. That one will be even worse if I take that one away, right? You said I'm being generous? Anarchist said I'm being generous. Okay. Let's say he doesn't get Michigan. Let's make it a light red. Then that would give the Democrats 232 and the Republicans 306. Either way, based on what I just did, and look, I still kept New York for the Democrats, but I really do believe Arizona, Nevada, and Georgia are going to be red again. What happens if I give them back Pennsylvania? Let's see. Let's say Pennsylvania is a light blue. He still loses. This isn't good. This is what I was trying to tell people. 251, 287 Republicans. So it just doesn't look good for Biden. Now, I could be wrong. We'll play with this again as we get closer to November. I could be wrong, but I just have a feeling. I have a feeling this might hold. At least most of it. We'll come back to it. I'll clip this episode so I can always just come right back to this episode. But when we talk about Joe Biden beating Donald Trump, I just want to remind you why he was chosen. Because it turns out, and we said this back in 2020, he really wasn't chosen to beat Donald Trump. I want you to hear from Representative Adam Smith about this here.
And I've said this over and over again. Joe Biden was not picked in 2020 because he was the only person that could beat Trump. He was picked because he was the only person that could beat Bernie Sanders, rightly or wrongly. And by the way, for the Sanders fans out there, I'm not judging, but that conclusion was made. Okay. Oh my gosh. Coming out of Nevada, Bernie Sanders is going to be the nominee. And people, just like they are now, back then said, yeah, I don't think that's going to work. So they were looking for an alternative. And tip of the hat to Joe Biden, he had the record. 8 great years as vice president.
Everybody hear that? They didn't pick Joe Biden to beat Donald Trump. They picked Joe Biden to beat Bernie Sanders. So this is where we're at now. So they got what they wanted. He was able to beat Bernie Sanders. Isn't that crazy though? Like that's pretty sad. It's sad when you think about it. They just wanted Bernie out. Let's go to some of the comments. All right. Thank you for the super chat, Jay. It takes a lot of class to admit when you're wrong, and you certainly have it. This is why we, your audience, respects you, Sabby. Oh, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I was wrong about New York, guys. Sorry. Anarchist. Yeah, Sabby, the writing's been on the wall for a while. FM, you called that one early, Sabby. I tried to tell people about what was happening in those cities. Thank you for the super chat, Unemployed Scholar. 2 groups of migrants, early wave 1960s to 2000s, struggled or struggling. Later wave, past few years, has been fast tracked. Interesting. And thank you, Joanne. Speak and preach, Sabby. So based. Love you, Eric T. and Kiva. And I'll take the comment on Rockfin, Eric. And then we'll go to our final story. There's a lot of stories tonight. Good grief. Thank you for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. I'd argue that it's not entirely Joe. People like myself feel betrayed by New York state legislation. I got to do it to you, Sab. Here's my ex-post Senator Raymond's, the pro-labor progressive, Senator Kristen Gonzalez, the self-described socialist, and Senator Salazar, the self-described Marxist. I had to bark on them. ADOS want Trump for mass deportation and self-deportation. Interesting. I'll check that out later. Thank you, Cool Blue. No apology necessary. I'm sensing 40 plus states like 1980 or 1984 Reagan. You just count the states the losing Democrat managed to hold. Wow. Interesting. And thank you, Roger. I was wrong too, Cool Blue. You got it.